You're standing in the kitchen at 11:43 at night. Everyone else went to bed hours ago, and you're just standing, not washing anything, not moving, just holding the towel and staring at nothing. Because this is the first moment all day that no one has needed anything from you. And your body doesn't quite know what to do with that. You don't sit down. You fold the towel. You wipe the counter that's already clean. You check the coffee maker is turned off, even though you checked it 20 minutes ago. And then, because you don't know what else to do with a quiet moment, you find something to do in it. This is who you are. This is what you built. A woman who never stops because stopping was never quite given permission. You are a Gen X woman. And there is something specific about you that almost no one talks about. Because the generation right before you got documentaries, and the generation right after you got think pieces. But you were busy. You are always busy. You learned early that busy was the same as fine. You came home to an empty house and let yourself in with a key that hung around your neck under your shirt. You made your own snacks, did your own homework, watched your own television, and had your own feelings, quietly, privately, without troubling anyone about it. By the time you were 12, you had developed a self-sufficiency so complete that adults praised you for it constantly. She's so mature, she's so independent, she doesn't need much. And you took that in. You wore it like a badge because it was the only badge being handed out. Not needing much was a virtue. Handling it yourself was something to be proud of. So you handled everything. You got a job before most of your classmates, managed your own schedule, navigated hard things without asking for a match. And when the internet arrived and everything changed faster than anyone had agreed to, you adapted. You always adapt. If any of that sounds familiar, drop a 1 in the comments. You'd be surprised how many women are in that kitchen right now, folding the same clean towel. You say, "I'm fine," when you're not. Not to deceive anyone, but because you genuinely don't know what the alternative looks like. You manage the problem before mentioning it exists. You reassure people that you're okay before they've finished asking the question. You are solution first, emotion later. And sometimes emotion never, because by the time you've managed the situation, the feeling has been sitting alone in a corner long enough that you've stopped hearing it knock. And the strange part is, you're not bitter about it. You'd probably push back if someone suggested you should be, because you genuinely believe this is just who you are. The capable one, the stable one, the one who figures it out. And that belief is so old and so deep that it doesn't even feel like a belief anymore. It just feels like a fact. What you're carrying has a name. Psychologists call it self-silencing, a pattern studied extensively by clinical psychologist Dana Jack, who found that women who consistently suppress their emotional needs develop a profound disconnection between their internal experience and their outward presentation. Self-silencing isn't the same as lying. It's not manipulation. It's a coping strategy, one that forms in environments where emotional expression feels risky, costly, or simply not available. For Gen X women, that environment was structural, not personal. The 1970s and 80s handed an entire generation of women new freedom, without the emotional scaffolding to support what that meant for the children in those households. Neurologically, what happens over time is this. When emotional processing is consistently redirected, pushed down, moved aside, managed rather than felt, the nervous system learns to treat emotional data as noise. Your brain becomes efficient at routing, feeling away from expression and toward function. You stop crying at the things that should make you cry. You stop asking for the things you actually need, not because you're strong, because the pathway between "I feel this" and "I can say this" got rerouted so long ago you forgot it was ever there. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk writes about how unacknowledged emotional states don't disappear. They go somatic. They show up as exhaustion you can't explain, a tension in your shoulders that never quite leave, a low-grade flatness you've learned to call personality rather than symptom. You function beautifully. No one would guess. But underneath the functioning, there is a woman who hasn't been asked how she's really doing in a very long time, and who, if she's honest, wouldn't quite know how to answer. Think back to the version of you before the key around your neck, before you could reach the stove, before you knew how to read the mood of a room and calibrate yourself accordingly. There was a girl who cried freely and loudly once, who said, "I want" without apology, who felt her feelings in real time, in the open, without editing them for an audience first. And then something happened, slowly, over years, without anyone meaning for it to, that taught her to do that differently. Maybe it was a household where everyone was working too hard to have the bandwidth for feelings. Maybe it was a parent who was dealing with their own unraveling. Maybe it was simply the cultural message of the era. Don't be dramatic, toughen up, figure it out, delivered so consistently you started saying it to yourself. You became the girl who didn't need much. And that girl grew into a woman who doesn't ask for much. And that woman is standing in her kitchen at 11, 43, folding a clean towel, because the moment she stops moving, she doesn't know what she'll find in the quiet. But here's the part I want to be honest with you about. The self-sufficiency that kept you standing, that got you through the hard years. It has a shadow. People can't help you if they don't know you need it. People can't come close if you never let there be a gap. The cost of never needing anything is that you end up with less than you deserve. Not because no one cares, but because you learn to disappear your needs so completely that even the people who love you most have slowly accepted that you're okay. What you built was not a flaw. It was engineering. You were given a specific set of conditions, and you built the exact tool that conditions required. You became capable because capable was what kept you safe. You became self-sufficient because self-sufficiency was what was on offer. The work is not to dismantle what you built. It is to let yourself know the emergency has passed, that you are not 9 years old and alone in the house anymore. You can be both things. The woman who survived by needing nothing, and the woman who finally decides that she deserves something. What you called not needing much was actually knowing how to carry everything alone. You were never low maintenance. You were just never given someone sturdy enough to share the weight. Drop an 8 in the comments if this is the first time someone has put words to this for you. What is the first memory you have of deciding to handle something alone? When part of you wanted to tell someone, and you chose not to. How old were you? What did you tell yourself in that moment to make it okay? Leave it in the comments. Even just the age. Even just a single word. If this stayed with you, our next video goes even deeper. The psychology of women who were never told they were enough. Watch it next.